Islamic dawah and refutations and responses and so on is you generally know that most of your audience is not going to watch the original, and so you can kind of pretend that you've refuted it. So I would encourage everyone, especially the Muslims, watch the original video, and then see if it's an actual refutation.
The focus of this video is to demonstrate how Apostate Prophet is deceptive, and I'm going to do that using David Wood and Ridvan themselves. Now, why did David Wood say what he said from the clip you saw at the beginning? Well, Apostate Prophet believes Farid is deceptive because he didn't show the full footage, and you're going to see now Apostate Prophet's belief and his views about people who don't show the full context, those who skip parts of videos and only show little bits and bobs. Let's play those clips now.
Yeah. I get it. I feel like they also started a very they didn't really start from the beginning of my actual video. They skipped quite a little bit, which I find terrible. But let's go on. If you're referring to the if you make a response video, it would be best if you don't have to include the entire footage, right? I don't do that. You don't do that. Nobody does that. You don't have to include the entire video that you're responding to, but at least include the actual context. We're not doing what you are doing and skipping a bunch of stuff. We're actually going through the entire footage, letting everyone listen to what you're saying.
Very quickly, the reason why Apostate Prophet believes that Farid is deceptive is because Farid didn't show the part in Apostate Prophet's original video where he speaks about Shema Israel, the term Adonai, and how in the New Testament Adonai is what means Yahweh. Because Farid said nowhere in the New Testament is Yahweh mentioned. My response is very simple. How do you know Farid didn't mean Yahweh is mentioned by name, YHWH? Secondly, what makes you an authority? Why should people believe you? You are an atheist speaking about Shema Israel and speaking Hebrew, sucking up to the Christians. But again, he's an atheist. And as evidence suggests, you are not a reliable person to take information from. Perhaps Farid simply made a mistake, or perhaps you misunderstood him. I don't know. But one thing's for sure, I do not believe he is deceptive. I think you insinuating that is actually dishonest. You and David Wood are the deceptive ones, but this video is all about you. Let's get into it.
Who said, how is a child raped when there is parental consent? Remember, we went through this. Is it haram to bring harm to one's own child? Yes. Then, is it haram for one to enable the rape of their child? Yes. So what is this about? This is specifically talking about a historical context. Rasulullah, his society, Abu Bakr and Roman giving Aisha to the Prophet, peace be upon him. They had no issues with it. The society had no issues with it. This is not rape. In the West today, in the United States, many states will allow one to marry a child if there is parental consent. And guess what? According to US law, according to European law, it is not considered rape enablement. Simple as that. You taking a tweet and thinking that solves all your issues. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I'm still here. You still need to respond to my videos. We're going to get to that. We're going to see what he has to say about that. Yes, Farid responds who said, we don't have evidence for the moon splitting because most people were asleep at night. Sleep at night. Sleep at night. Yeah. Okay. This I responded to fully. You take a 5-second clip from a video and you avoid all the other stuff. Here's the issue, Ridvan. When you respond to me directly, your fans are going to see how you take things out of context. Here's the video below. I'm going to link it in the description. You guys can see how he took it out of context and how I've responded to this fully. And he's misrepresenting my arguments. Let's carry on. Farid responds who said, we cannot understand what Muhammad means by the sun goes under the throne of Allah at night because it is a metaphysical matter. After saying, if you go to my video, I clearly explain that the sun prostrating, okay, and the trees prostrating. Trees, do you see trees prostrating? That's a metaphysical matter, all right? That was how it was understood by the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, in the same way they understood the sun prostrating as a metaphysical matter, right? In any case, go watch my video fully, guys. Don't let this punk take 5 seconds out of context and claim that that's a refutation, right?
Bullshit. A certain small YouTuber even uploaded a video in which he says that I cannot compare the treatment of apostates who are supposed to be killed according to Islam to the treatment of Uyghur Muslims in China, because apostasy is treason. It's a crime. I'm not the one making the claim that this word is necessarily in reference to something literally happening. a general truth, an objective reality. I have never said that the wording used here can only exclusively be used for a general truth. That's not at all what I'm claiming. That would be a completely different argument. What I'm saying is that on a plain reading, that's what you understand. And there is no indication of any subjective observation. Never go ahead and claim that the wording must 100% indicate that a literal setting in a muddy spring is described here. This is merely what I'm taking from the circumstantial evidence, arguing that the wording can only refer to a general truth or can only refer to a subjective observation is a false claim. That's what's happening here, Farid. Do you understand it now? I have never, ever made the claim that this wording here can exclusively refer to an objective reality, a general truth.
I did not. I could reiterate this 1,000 times. In my original video, I never, not a single time, said that the word or the wording must necessarily refer to a general truth. You are not only reading into your own text, you're also reading into what I'm saying and making a claim that I said something which I never said. I never claimed that the word can only refer to a general truth. I have only said that nothing indicates that it doesn't refer to a general truth, and that nothing in the wording of this verse indicates that this is certainly describing a subjective observation. Clear as that. Wajadaha, which means he found it. Wajada means he found. Now, we don't even have to go far. The same word is used again in the same verse. When it says he found near it a people, he found here is wajada. It's the exact same word. So is this as if now he didn't really find those people? It was only as if he found those people? Let's go a few verses forward. The same word is used here, where he comes to the rising of the sun, and he finds the sun rising over a people. Is this now as if the sun was rising over this people? How does that even make sense? Finally, a few verses later, this is getting interesting. He finds people who can't understand his language. By the logic of modern apologists, did he not really find people there? Did it only appear to him that way? Were they his hallucination? Was Dhul-Qarnayn high on mushrooms? Let's change the Quran verse. Until when he reached the pass between two mountains, he found beside them a people who could hardly understand his speech. But they weren't really there. Dhul-Qarnayn was just high again. Quran chapter 18 verse 93. You have to read this carefully. Don't ever take this out of context. Thirdly, let's use our brains, seriously. The Quran says that he found it setting in a muddy spring. Why would it say that? If it's only supposed to be from Dhul-Qarnayn's perspective, then why did Allah's eternal perfect message for all humankind say it that way? This is where Muslim apologists fail when they make such explanations. They say, oh, the Quran just says that. It doesn't actually mean that. Well, why is Allah exactly telling us what he's saying? What is he meaning with that? Is he trying to confuse us? Because I can't learn anything from that. This muddy spring thing doesn't even contribute poetically to the Quran verse, which is also ridiculous if it did. Allah just makes the Quran poetic and puts such weird things in it. It's very clear. The Quran says that the sun sets in a muddy spring. Oh, Muhammad. Very clear. The Quran says that the sun sets in a muddy spring. Oh.
All you have to do is watch Apostate Prophet's videos on a sun setting in 2022 versus his original video, and you'll see the contradiction. In 2022, he is saying that wajada, I never said it can refer to something objective, a general truth. I never said that, meaning he's leaving the interpretation open for wajada to refer to something objective and subjective. But if you go to his original video from 2018, his method is to attempt to refute the Muslims who appeal to the Arabic wajada and say that it refers to the perspective of Dhul-Qarnayn, and he does this by appealing to other verses of the Quran. He then says, mockingly and sarcastically, is this as if? Is this as if? Meaning, are you saying that this is subjective too? Are you saying that this is subjective too? From his video in 2018, if you watch it, it seems he only holds one view, and because he believes it literally sets in a muddy spring, to him it's objective. It is a general truth. Whilst you may not have said it explicitly like you said in 2022, it's clear what's implied from your original video. Just admit you are wrong and you need to communicate things better instead of trying to make it look like that Muslims are the problem. This is an instance of his deception because he literally lies about his old videos. And how did I demonstrate this to you? I simply showed you his old video. And if you don't believe me, I've shown you the screenshot. Go and check it out. In fact, you know, I want you to, because the moment you do, you will see that I'm right and you would have discovered it for yourself and seen the evidence with your own two eyes. So go ahead and do it.
And that is rare. Narrated by Abu Dhar. I was sitting behind the Messenger of Allah, who was riding a donkey while the sun was setting. He asked, do you know where this sets? I replied, Allah and his apostle know best. He said, it sets in a spring of warm water. This hadith can indeed be traced back to Muhammad.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, narrated the hadith to Abu Dhar. Abu Dhar narrated to Yazid bin Sharik. Yazid narrated to Ibrahim. All narrated the same hadith without mentioning anything about the sun going into a spring. On the other hand, the hadith in Sunan Abi Dawud that Ridvan is quoting is the hadith of Sufyan bin Hussein from Al-Hakam bin Utayba from Ibrahim. This is the one that speaks of the sun setting in the murky spring, and therefore this wording is rejected as an addition.
I now do agree that that hadith is questionable. However, in my original video, I also said, now if we accepted for a second that the hadith was indeed wrong, this hadith can indeed be traced back to Muhammad, because the transmission between the people who reported this hadith has been authenticated. This is actually the definition of sahih or authentic in hadith terminology, but
But because the Quran verse is an example of how you sound when you learn basic science from 7th century Arabs, Muslim scholars don't want to take this hadith at face value and therefore only call it sahih in transmission, in chain. Some add explanations like, well, someone in the transmission was not a reliable person. And
So that is the end of this video. I've just demonstrated to you 7 instances of how this guy is a liar, how he is deceptive, how he is a fraudster, how he cuts out footage, how he selectively chooses tweets, how he loves to misrepresent his opponents, how he even lies about his own content. And I'll challenge any Apostate Prophet fan, fact check me. I've shown you the screenshots. I've shown you the screenshots of his videos, and you can go and see for yourself that what I've said is the truth. Oh, and don't worry, it's not a subjective truth, it's an objective truth. A general truth, as Ridvan would say.